Yo guys, I hope you're all good. Duncan Shaw here, and I'm absolutely delighted to be announcing that I'm going to be joining the Marin global team as a rider. But not only that, I'm going to be presenting a series of videos that are going to be released regularly right here on the Marin YouTube channel. So hit subscribe if you want to keep up to date with those. We're going to be doing all sorts of things, from first looks at bikes, bike checks of the big Marin bikes range, as well as doing all sorts of vlogs and how-tos to show you guys a little bit about everything that's going on with Marin, as well as myself. For those of you who don't know me, I have a trials background, which is basically riding and hopping over all sorts of obstacles in urban environments. I've been doing that for years now. I love making videos, and we've also been doing a live show called the Drop and Roll Tour, traveling all over the world, performing bike tricks and trying to get people stoked on cycling. Obviously, we've not been doing too much of that this year, but we're looking forward to getting stuck in and making a real good series of content for you guys, and looking forward to having you guys along for the ride. I'm absolutely stoked that the first bike Marin have sent me is the Alpine Trail E2 e-bike. So we're going to cut over now, have a little first look, do a mini bike check, and then hit the trails. So here it is. This is my very own Marin Bikes Alpine Trail E2 e-bike. It is the upper of the two models that Marin have in their new e-mountain bike range. The main thing you'll probably notice, or may not, but it's a mullet. So that is a 29-inch front wheel and a 27.5 in the rear. I was lucky enough to speak to some of the guys in the design team behind this bike, and it was really interesting just to hear just how much thought has gone into it. And yeah, one of the main things was making it a mullet. I think they tested both, and they were just set on having the mullet because it was a sort of unanimous feedback from all the testers that that's what was feeling best. So with a 29er, it's obviously going to have that nice rolling speed over rocks and roots and stuff like that, and then still getting that maneuverability with a 27.5 in the rear. They've designed this with having a plus size tyre in mind, so that just kind of gives you a little bit more sort of traction, and just sort of get you a little bit more sort of rooted and seated to the ground. So now looking at the frame, again with that in mind, they've really thought about this so much, and it was really interesting to speak to those guys, just all the things they had to sort of factor in while designing this bike. It's got pretty low standover, which is quite cool. I especially, coming from a trials background, are used to small bikes, so it's really cool to have that loads of space between your sort of your bum and your seat when you're riding, because obviously it's a bit of a thing with e-bikes, so it can still kind of maneuver it around. And another thing they have done, which they've mentioned, is it can accommodate up to 200mm dropper posts, which means not only can you get it up for the climbs, you can also slam the seat pretty much right down to the knuckle, so you've got loads of space and manoeuvrability when you're going back down. So as this thing's an e-bike, we can't look past the motor. The E2 comes with the Shimano EP8, which is the new motor out in the last few months, with the E1 coming with the E7000 steps motor. The main differences between the two is the max power output. The EP8 is kicking out 85 Newton meters of torque, with the E7000 kicking out 70 Newton meters of torque. Other things that I've been told is it's got a bit more tunability, and there's actually two profiles you can load in on the EP8, which Marin ship their bikes with already pre-loaded on. It basically comes with Eco, Trail and Boost mode, but even within those modes you can still tweak it within those. So as far as I know, what they call full-time boogie is Max Eco, Max Trail, Max Boost, but then they also have what they call Adventure mode, which is a little bit more reserved and will be a little bit kinder on the battery to get you out for big long rides and not running out of battery before you get home. Another interesting thing about this bike and the Geo is the chainstay length. It was all about making it short enough to be super playful, but still long enough to keep it nice and stable, so you're not looping up on those steep climbs, because let's face it, once you've got an engine involved, you're going to be going up certain climbs that you would never even dream of going on your regular analog mountain bike. So it's all about just getting that balance right. Shock and suspension wise, up front we've got a Fox 38, which is obviously tried and tested on loads of bikes and feels great. I've had it on my old e-bike, so quite happy to be continuing with that. Interestingly, they've gone for coil shock on this. Just from having a few rides around the car park, it definitely feels pretty plush, so it's going to be interesting to see how that feels when I'm out in the trails too. But yeah, overall, sounds absolutely mint. Really liking the thought processes gone into this bike after speaking to the design team, so super excited to actually get on this thing and hit the trails. First challenge of the day is going to be quite a test, to be honest. Doesn't look like much, but it's so muddy and slippy, it is a pretty tough climb, so we'll see how we fare. It's slippy. Whew, feels mint. I've tried trail there. Sometimes, even though it's like counterintuitive, sometimes easier to go up super steep climbs, especially when it's slippy in trail, just because just maybe will give you a little bit more modulated power and actually keep traction rather than just wheel spinning everywhere. I'll give the next one a blast. It's probably even harder. It's like slippy grass. Doesn't look hard, especially on camera probably, but it's a bit of a tech one. Seriously slippy. Some trials cheating there. Had to use my trial skills there to cheat a little bit at the end. That is insane how slippy it is. Had to knock it down at the trail there so I didn't wheel spin everywhere. Feels mint though. So it's past the steep climb test. We just blasted up the rest on the fire road. So now for the fun part, I'm going to see how she handles on the trails. I've not actually ridden this trail for a few weeks, so maybe take it easy on the new bike and see how she goes. Whoa! Those are pretty tight. Still surprisingly nimble though between those tight turns. So that was a bit of a wild one. Definitely feeling a bit rusty on the bike, but overall bike's feeling mint. First time on the mullet, felt pretty good. Definitely a little bit to get used to. Few tweaks definitely need to be made with the suspension. I think I need to put a bit of air in the forks. The person who set these up was definitely a little bit lighter than I was, let's just say. But maybe that'll be something for a future video. If you do have any questions about the bike, or you have any suggestions of what you'd like to see us do next, please comment below and myself or someone from Marin will get back to you. I'm sure they'll be happy to help. But yeah, hit subscribe on the channel and we'll catch you guys in the next one.